Okay, in this video we're gonna talk a little bit more about the fsl. So in the previous video I did not have the satin completely finished, so in this one I went and finished up all the satins, made all my rungs, and I put in each section I put two rungs, and in order to control the satin stitches going around the corners, and if I need to make any adjustments that becomes quite easy. And in the sharp corners you can see that I angled those a little bit toward the sharp point. Otherwise you're gonna get a lot of open spacings there. This way they will fill up a little better. Also a thing with your satin stitches to keep, what you want to keep in mind is in the params. I'll just go to the params for a moment, and your zigzag underlay there, the spacing peak to peak, you can change the density, and that may help with the satin stitch grabbing onto the underlying stitches. And you could go even a little more dense there and go to a 1.5. That way you get more zigzagging in there, what will grab onto the underlying layers, and that becomes a fairly important part. So keep that in mind, and I'll go here and apply and quit. So now we have this snowflake, and now we want to add some text inside. So what I did is I got an ink stitch text, ink stitch lettering, and to get there we go to, if you have nothing selected, then you can go extension ink stitch lettering. Then you can go and pick your lettering you desire, and now I think I used the Pacifico. I can't even quite recall anymore what I exactly did, but to a certain point that doesn't matter which font we're using. So I'll cancel this one. So I got here 3 letters, and I want to make you a little bit aware there too. With your params, you want to watch the zigzag underlay, if that is also check marked. So those settings, they become fairly important. And what you want to do, you want to work with as little jump stitches as possible, or tie-ins or tie-offs, unless you go and use a different color. I mean, then you have to have your tie-ins and tie-offs, but otherwise you want to have it sewn as much as possible continuous. But one more thing where you want to be aware of with your satin stitches, and maybe I should go and draw a few things on the let me see here. I'm trying to get my pen marker here for a moment, and I'll go to a red color. As you can see here on top, that zigzag goes over top, and this zigzag is going in this direction. Now what we want to do for this to be really successful with the fsl, we want to create some connections over here where the one zigzag joins with the other zigzag, and that is the same with this zigzag and this zigzag. Where they join, we want to go and create extra connecting stitches, otherwise they come and lay kind of beside each other. So if we're creating some manual stitches, we will get that they can pull together and hold together. So I'll delete that. So, and in order to do that, we have to check, if we're using ink stitch lettering, we have to check where the lettering starts. And in order to do that, we go into the layers and objects, and we first have to object and ungroup our ink stitch lettering. Oh, I'm in path, object, ungroup. So we first ungroup it, and then I go here to my down arrow, and then I can find my individual letters. Don't necessarily have to ungroup it, but it probably is the easiest to go and ungroup it, depending on how comfortable you are moving around within the layers and objects, and how to select the parts and pieces. You can leave them grouped. So then I'm going to, here I'm working with the letter F, and then I go to my F in the layers and objects, and I'm going to the well, this is, I added this one in there, so or maybe I should go and put this out of the way for a moment and just get a new text in, but that's okay. Let me pull that out of there for a moment. So that path is on top now, and I'll turn the visibility off. Let's do it that way, because I created that path. Okay, so we're in the ink stitch lettering here in the layers and objects. We go to the F, the first letter what we have created. Then I'm going to the bottom object in that group and select it in the layers and objects. So then I can see in my screen which is the first object what is being sewn, because we want everything as much as possible to stitch in one path. So I want to know which my first one is, and then I want to see where the start point of it is, so I can see the direction angle on the path, or I can go and in the node select I can also hit the tab key, and then it will highlight my first node. So I know now that this path, it is starting over here. So now that I know that, now I will create a path from there with manual stitches, and I'll go with a Bezier tool, and I'm starting right where oh no, that is where I want to end up with my extra stitches. So then we can go and start where we need those covering stitches. So I'll go here and create with the Bezier tool. I'm creating some manual stitches, and then I'll go over here and I'm creating some manual stitches here, and you may have to play a little bit with it on how many you have to put down. And I'll go, we need some over here, so that way we get a better connection between the satin stitch going that direction and the satin stitch going this direction. And then I'm traveling to the start point of the satin, and I press the enter button. So now that that has been created, we want to select it, and we go extension, ink stitch, and the paramps. And oh, I forgot one thing. We don't want a running stitch along the path, so we cancel that one. We first have to make it a dashed line. So we go to the fill and stroke, and we set a dashed line. Now we can go to the ink stitch paramps, and then for this purpose I would go and use the manual stitch placement. So then what it will do, wherever I placed a node, that is where I will get a stitch point. And I can go, let me see here. So we get there and we have to watch that we setting our tie-ins and tie-outs. So now you can see wherever I put a I didn't check mark the manual stitch placement. That's what needed to happen. I thought already something looked strange. So now wherever there is a node, that's where a stitch point is. So we apply the manual stitch placement, and that is all what we need to check mark. And we don't have to change any of the other things. The lock stitches, we can turn them off, because we don't need the lock stitches, because we're gonna tie right in with a start point of where the satin stitching of or a running stitch for the satin leather is starting. It is almost tongue breaking to give you this information, but so now that that is applied, you also want to make sure that you have the same color than what your leather color is. Then what you want to do is you want to place that manual stitch placement line on the bottom of the leather you have created. So what we do is here in the layers and objects panel, we just grab the path and we place it here on the bottom of the leather. So it will start stitching with this part, and then that will be the next part, that will be the next, and it will sew from the bottom to the top. So then we have the S. Well, the S is everything is a nice straight curve, so we don't have to create anything. So then we come here with the L. There too again, we have to check where is the starting point, and there we can see it is starting here with a satin. So I don't know exactly how this one stitches out, and if you're not sure how it stitches out, then you can go to the simulator for that matter too and check how it is stitching, and then take it from there. Now we can go and check with pressing the tab key again, and that should show me. Oh, what is that? Is okay. Yeah, this is the bottom part. I don't know why it was not highlighted as. This is a little strange here. Something does not seem to make sense to me. Let's click on there. And if I press the tab key, I see the arrows pointing there. Somehow, for some reason, there must be a node. Okay, there it is. So it might be some being a little bit of searching to find out. So I just selected beside it, so now I'm just reselecting the nodes again, so that I'm basically saying don't show me any nodes at the moment. And now I press the tab key again, and then you can see in this section here there is one what is highlighted. As you can see, that is the highlighted node, the one I have right there. And sometimes it can be hard to find, because if you have two nodes laying on top of each other, then you can hardly see which node is the first one. So then you just have to find the start of the line or the end of the line, because if I'm pressing the shift tab, then it will the highlighted node will move backwards. As you can see, it is going down the line, and if I press the tab key, it will keep moving forward. So that way you can see in which order that some of the nodes go. It can be confusing, but it is something what you kind of want to know on where did it start and where is it ending. So then we know that the letter L is starting here, and it stitches over here, and then it moves going up. and and then this part of the L is being done, so then it comes back and it will finish up here on the bottom again. So all we need to do is create a covering stitch for in this section and then bring it here toward the starting point. So then again, we just grab the Bezier tool and we create some manual stitches to get a good covering, and we bring it here to the corner and we press enter. And I got my Bezier tool set to the last used option setting, so that can be, I can have that my Bezier tool gives me a fill. If that was the last setting I used to have somewhere a fill, then it will give me a fill. If the last setting I used was a stroke, it will give me a stroke, and it will also give me that color. And that can be changed in the preference window. But that depends on how you like to work with some of these tools. So now that I have my dashed line, I can go straight into the extensions, ink stitch, params, and go and apply right away the manual stitch placement, and that is all what is needed there. And then apply and quit. And now again, we have to make sure that we drag that path into the right order in the ink stitch lettering. And there you can see there is that starting line for the covering. So, and this will also count for all your other satin what you are creating, and this should, and what you can also do, since the letters are just overlapping or just about touching each other, and because we have a open netting underneath, we could quite easy make connections right on top here. But then you really have to know what you're doing on, am I gonna go and delete all these running stitches? You may want to go and change the whole aspect of the satin stitches. So there are many ways you can deal with it. You can manually create all the satins and connect just where they are overlapping and continue, and then create the satin stitch of the S here up to this point, then create a running stitch down here and come back with a satin here, and then just make a connection here and start with your underlying covering stitches, and then you can go and, for that matter, go to the top, come down with your satin, create a running stitch, and then do this bottom part. So there are many ways of how it can be done. It is all how comfortable do you feel working with all these satin. But like I say, it becomes an important part, and make these connections in between, and that takes a little bit of planning and puzzling. And like I say, you want to have as little jumps as possible to be successful with your fsl. because you want to be able to have a kind of the same look on the front side as on the back side. And the more jumps you have, you also create a lot of more tie-ins and tie-outs. And also, then one more point of importance, it might be the best that you also sew from the center going out, because most of the time your outside is going to have a total satin stitch going all the way around. And if you sew your satin stitch first and you have a fairly high density setting, what can happen is that you're punching out on your stabilizer. So in order to prevent that kind of from happening, the best thing is that you start digitizing first all your netting, and then you start digitizing your internal design areas, and then go into the satin. So if I would go and make this, have it all as the same color, then what I would do here also, start my satin outline over here where the L finishes. That way I don't have to create an extra jump and tie in and tie out. But if my satin is being set over here already for start point, I can easily go and make a running stitch all the way around. That won't matter either, because if I'm getting some extra lines in there, that will only strengthen the holding of the top layer stitches. So go and experiment a little bit on what works and what doesn't work, and once you get a feeling of how it is being put together and how it holds together, then it becomes fairly easy. So now I'll go and change all to the same color, and like I say, I wanted to have that top layer of satin, I wanted to have that sewn last, so we have to make sure that we put it in the right order. And I also recommend to, let me see here, I gotta check fill, and I want my second fill, shift, and I want them the same color, a fill color, but I could go with a stroke on them too, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay, now I think I have everything in the same color, and now we'll go and as you can see, the lettering has disappeared, but that is only because it's all the same letters or the same color. So now we go ink stitch, and we go troubleshoot, visualize and export, and we go to the simulator, and this probably will take a few moments. Oh, there it is already, and there we can see. So it's first putting down our network, and there too with your network you want to be a little bit considerate too on where the start point is and where the end point is. And as you can see, there is a jump in there. So probably need to go and probably have to create a command for the starts and the stops, so that they're lining up at the same point. And as you can see, this one ended here, but I didn't, that's why it went so quick. I had those two fills selected. Now we'll select everything: extension, ink stitch, visualize in the simulator. So quite often you may have to go and run it a few times through your simulator just to find out where do I still have mistakes, what needs adjusting. And as you can see, it takes a little bit longer to create a stitch plan. And there we can see it started on top. No, what is going on? It's doing my satin stitch now. I thought I had everything selected. And that is sometimes annoying. Okay, let's see. Extension, ink stitch, simulator. Let's see if it does everything now. And like I say, it takes a little bit because it's got a lot of stuff to. No, it still is not. Why? I thought that I had it, so it is stitching everything, but it turns out it is doing the satin first. So my satin is in the wrong order. And as you could see, okay, top satin, and I thought I had it moved up to the top. It shows a few little. What's going on? I cannot recall that I put those commands in. Oh, okay. Well, so be it then. Just making sure. But why doesn't want to go my... Okay, now it was willing to move. Okay, so it is just a matter of sometimes Inkscape is temperamental or Inkstitch is temperamental. There's many things what can happen. So, but anyway, I don't know exactly for what reason it did not want to move up. But finally it went and moved to the top. So then on the fill we can select both fills and we can go extension, Well, it may create a little bit of an issue here because it looks like there is a command already. So let's go and delete that one, and let's go and delete that one. So now we can go, and we know that the Satin has a start and stop point on the top, and control extension, ink stitch, and let's see, commands, attach command to selected object, still starting position and ending position, and we go and apply. And then we can close this window, and now we can see there are a few of them. We don't know exactly from which one is. In order to find that out, we can go to the layers and objects panel and check each individually which one is which one. But we know also that the Satin is starting on top, so that is where we want the others in a way to finish. So what we can do here with we want them all put together, that a start and a stop point are together. So that is how I did it now in a quick fix. And I see there is a stop one yet, and I'll drag that one over there also. So now we have all the start and stops here on the top. We could go and put on the one fill the start on one side and the finish on the other side, and then for the next layer put the start with a stop and then switch it to another position. So you have to play with that and see what works best for you. Okay, so now we can go and now we have everything should be selected. Extension, ink stitch, visualize, and the simulator. So yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of internal design you're making within the FSL. All those satin stitches, they become important on how do you connect them together. And so yeah, and there you can see there is a jump stitch on that is the first running stitch, so that needs to be changed a little bit yet. So like in here on the L, like what I said, you can see there is a jump stitch here. That one could be changed to from there on a running stitch going here to the outside. So there are a few little things, but I just want to show that you have to be aware of where are the jump stitches and do I have everything in the right order. And as you can see, here is a jump stitch. So you would have a jump stitch for sure coming from the satin going from the fills going here to the first leather. So we have to make sure that we get then a tie in and a tie off on the start of the F. So we need a tie in over there, and a tie out over here on the fill. Then we're making our connections here, and then here for this jump stitch to eliminate, we would have to make a running stitch going, we can just go straight across, and we could go and get a satin started over here by splitting the nodes over here and then reconnecting the nodes here on top. Or, like I said before, we can create a running stitch around the outside and still have the running stitch start over here on the top. So yeah, there are many possibilities, but once you understand your running stitch and your satin, then it becomes all fairly simple. It takes a little bit logic thinking on how do I have to move from one place to another place, where do I have to make my my strengthening connections. And so here you have the realistic view, and I'll leave it at that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. Okay, thanks for watching, and have fun digitizing, and take care.